Is it too dark, Jamie?
Nah, we can see you. That's good. I think we're good. Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, and today I am hanging out with Anthony Amato, one half of Cardboard Fortress. Depending on who you ask, they might say the better half. Now, both of you guys are great. And today I am hanging out with. Oh no, I hear myself. It's the worst thing.
I got it. I fixed
it. So basically, we're just gonna talk about, I guess, some nerdy stuff, maybe some D&D. You know, rumor has it you've made a couple board games that are really cool. Hey, by the way, when do we get Laser Rider?
Well, that's never a distinct time, but it should be next. Should be next month. I'm hoping. Probably later in the next month section.
Yeah, I'm really excited to play that one with the family, to be honest with you.
I'm excited to have it myself. Just because I've never had like the finished product, you know.
Yeah, like Resistor is a great game. And for anyone joining us, in the description, you can find a bunch of links that will lead you to Cardboard Fortress and Anthony as well. He also does graphic design work, some illustration work, you know, jack of all trades.
I work in the gaming world.
Yes. And also,
I do everything.
Also, in that description is a Kickstarter that isn't yours, but you've done work for.
Yeah, they're friends of mine, and I did their. They hired me to do their graphic design. So all the box art and almost all the other art, not the illustration. That's a different artist, but all the stuff around it and the Kickstarter campaign I did. And I'll be doing the rest of their graphic design going forward as well. But it's a really good game. They're friends of ours. They actually came to our house and filmed their video here because we have a wall of board games. And I'm in the playtest video and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I've heard Nerdarchy Ryan describe your apartment as being like a mini game store.
We have a lot of games. Here, I think I can show you. Where is it?
Almost. There we go. There it is.
There's our wall of games. The stack there next to it is the stack of shame. All the games we haven't played. If I could move the camera into my kitchen, I could show you that we turned we have a built-in shelving unit in our kitchen, I guess for pots and pans or something like that. I had so many D&D books that I was like, oh god, where am I gonna put all these old 3.5 books and stuff? And so our kitchen has a wall of D&D books.
Oh, that's great. Like, we don't need food, we've got D&D.
Yeah, what's cooking in the kitchen? Adventure.
That is pretty awesome. How many games are you guys playing in?
Role-playing games?
Yeah.
Just yours, and I'm running an Eberron game now.
You guys just kicked that off, right?
Yeah, we did 2 sessions so far, and I think we're in our next session in a couple weeks.
You guys are running that in 4E?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Yeah, we're big 4E fans. So we're running that in 4E to the chagrin of a couple players, but they're coming around.
They're coming around. I think at this juncture I would rather play 4E over 3.5 or Pathfinder.
Yeah, that's true.
I actually don't care. Like, I'll play pretty much anything. Heck, I'm supposed to be in a Starfinder game that's going to be GM'd by somebody from Paizo at some point.
Yeah,
coming up in the near future.
Is that out?
No, it's not.
Oh man.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a couple. It's like us, WebDM, Encounter Roleplay,
and playing it online. Get me in there.
Yeah, online, and Taking 20. So it should be really cool. So apparently, but I was told I can't call dibs on the rat guys. Apparently, the guy that set it up should get dibs.
What other kind of cool races are there?
I don't even know yet. We don't even have the stuff yet.
Oh man, I'm so interested.
I am, right? But I feel like I'm going to be like, oh man, it's so cool. The art is awesome. These books look amazing. And then I'm going to open them up and go, it really is just Pathfinder.
Yeah, it is going to be Pathfinder. My thing is like, I didn't want to be, when normal fantasy Pathfinder started up, I was like coming off of like 8 years of playing 3.5, and I was like, man, I'm done with this. Like, I'm just, every time I level up, I got to look at 50,000 classes to figure out what's the best, most optimum choice. And I'm pre-built out to 15 levels before I even start the adventure. Boring. I'm sick of that stuff. So when the Pathfinder started up, I was like, I want no part of this. Even though their production was great and all their adventures look amazing and their settings were cool and all that, I was just like, I just can't be a part of this like overly wrought system anymore. But now, after having gone through 4th edition, which I love, and now we're into 5th edition, which I'm not a huge fan of, and having seen all the community of Pathfinder, which I missed out on, you know what I mean? Because I swore it off, but there was all these people playing it, and people were playing at the stores, and there were, there's the Pathfinder Society and everything. I was like, oh man, I kind of missed that. Because back in the day, I played Living Greyhawk a lot. We would go all over the country to conventions and play games. So I really missed the community that missed out on the community that Pathfinder had. And after a couple of years, it was like, well, there's no way I'm jumping in now. Everybody's already leveled up, and there's already a million classes. We're right back to 3.5 level of complexity. You know what I mean? But when I heard about Starfinder, I was like, well, I could probably suck it up and deal with the old system just to be on the ground floor of a new community kind of starting up. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
A new setting in a community.
I think you guys haven't messed with Cypher System yet, right?
No.
And I know you've heard not so great things about it.
Which one's Cypher System?
Cypher System is like Numenera, The Strange.
Oh, you know what? I played a demo of Numenera and I didn't love it. Yeah. I don't want to badmouth the system, but to me, it felt like it did everything. It had all new mechanics, and the result was that it felt exactly like 3.5 to me. Like you did it all with different. You did it a different way and got to the same end, which makes sense because it's the same designer, right?
Monty Cook, yeah. I mean, he was a big part of 3rd edition. So I haven't actually played Numenera, but I played Cypher System, and it's kind of all it's all the same engine. No, I just asked because I was thinking I don't know if they launched it or not, but they were supposed to be building their own like society as well.
Oh yeah.
But honestly, like us from Nerdarchy for the most part have never really gotten into any of that. Like we've always, I guess it's because when we started playing too, it's just like it didn't exist, and if it did, like it only existed in the beginning at conventions.
Yeah. I mean, it's so long ago now; it's hard to even remember. But when WotC and stuff started doing the living campaigns back in 3.0, it was really neat because you'd be able to say, all right, well, we're going to get together to play. We're going to play this adventure, and it's going to take that night. You know what I mean? And then we're going to keep all of this stuff that our characters gained in that adventure, and then we'll meet up some other time and play another adventure. And they'll put out modules, and all those modules were self-contained but vaguely connected. And Living Greyhawk was really cool because WotC gave the control out to the communities to say, like in our area was Keeland, and that was New York, Jersey, and Pennsylvania. And so all of our modules that were made by people in those states were set in the Kingdom of Keeland in Greyhawk. So if you wanted to play an adventure in Keeland, you had to come to one of those states at a convention in that state, which meant, and we all played those, right? And if we wanted to play adventures from another region in Greyhawk, we would have to go to the convention in that region, or go to somebody's house. It didn't have to be a convention, So it built up like a meta community on top of it built up like a meta campaign on top of what you were doing yourself, because all the people from Keeland were used to adventures with this tone or this hardness, and these things were happening, like, oh, we don't trust the Fae because they screwed us in this module. But then you go to another region where the Fae are your allies all the time. Then you're interacting with those players, and they're like, yeah, we're on board for this Fae guy's quest. And we're like, no way, he's going to screw us. Stuff like that, right? When the guys came up from Texas, I guess the guys that wrote the modules in Texas, it was called the Bandit Kingdoms. Their region was so stingy with, like you, their region was so stingy with equipment that they would literally like steal the boots and pull the nails out of buildings, like just to get some money. So when they came to Keeland, they were like, you're throwing that away. You know what I mean?
They're losing their mind.
So that was a lot of fun. And, we ran that for years and years and played multiple characters through really long adventures. I've had characters go all the way up to really high levels, and whole big, super big plot lines come out of that. When we played down in Delaware, they were their plot line was like their whole country had been taken over by giants, and so over the course of 3 or 4 years was literally them having a rebellion army. But that rebellion didn't just take place with you and your 6 friends at a table. It took place at a convention. You might have a battle interactive where 60 people are playing at 10 tables, and we're all on the battlefield fighting different groups of enemies and are trying to achieve different quests. It was super fun. And one of the reasons it was so good was that the people in that state ran their state's adventures and came up with their plot lines. And then WotC, when 4th edition came out, WotC took all the control back and said, no, we're just putting out what we say, and we're going to find the writers, and we're going to do it. And it became way more generic. We could run, because we were a lot of 4th edition living for, well, first of all, it was Forgotten Realms, so there's almost no distinctive flavor. It was just everything is there. And then you could go anywhere in Forgotten Realms without any constriction, so you never really got deep into any one region's interesting stuff. And it never felt curated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they took it over. Everything it had to be like McDonald's.
Yeah, it had to be lowest common denominator all the time, which really, really kind of sucked the life out of it. We played that for years and years also. So, we did it because it's easier to do that than run a home game, because that requires a lot of scheduling.
Well, that's true. As we run into often, and we only game once a month.
The other nice thing about those living campaigns was, if you ran an adventure one night, that adventure was done. So then somebody else could run the adventure next night. So nobody would have to be the dedicated GM, was another thing. You know what I mean?
So how old are you, Anthony? I always forget. I know you guys told me before.
37.
37. So I'm only a little bit older. So I'm just trying to figure out, how did you guys remember, organize that stuff? What do you it back then? I was in my early to mid 20s before I even had a personal computer to even use.
How do you organize the living campaigns back then?
Yeah.
How did we do it?
Smoke signals. I think it must have been smoke signals.
Yeah, I mean, it was just emails, really. But you know what we used to? Everything ran off of. I used to run everything off of Yahoo groups for 4th edition stuff, but we used to use some kind of mass email thing, some kind of group where you would send a message to the group and it would send it to everybody else, kind of deal.
Yeah, because I feel like I had already been gaming for 10 years before I even owned a computer, and even knew really even knew anything about the internet.
Yeah, I mean,
now it's so easy.
We played before that also. We played in home games and stuff. It was just that once that was around, and like any community, once everybody's doing it, that's what's being done, right? Like I prefer not to be playing 5th edition, but 5th edition's the elephant in the room, and that's what everybody's playing, so that's what I'm playing. You know what I mean? I like to be playing Dungeon World or something, but 5th edition's the thing that people are doing, so that's what I'm doing.
Oh, that's right. I was going to say you should run some Dungeon World, but we had this discussion. You want to play it, you don't want to run it.
Yeah, that's a tough. For me, that looks like a really difficult game to run, but a really easy game to play.
Because everything, a lot of the stuff kind of gets made up on the fly. I haven't actually played Dungeon World yet.
The mechanics are great. I always say that if you want to play, well, what I really say is if you want to play 5th edition, just play Dungeon World instead. But if you want to play an old style D&D game that feels with rules now that aren't as heavy as the rules used to be, but you want that feeling of a 2nd edition or advanced, Dungeon World's where it's at. Because it's narrative. People talk about they want a game where it's more about the role playing and narrative. Well, Dungeon World's more about the role playing narrative. It's not giving lip service to it and then giving you a bunch of hard mechanics to slog your way through.
To make it role playing.
Yeah.
Have you guys messed around with Fate at all?
I played one game of Fate. and it was like a Scooby-Doo game. Seemed okay.
Scott Garrity runs a lot of crazy games through Fate.
Yeah.
I think he's right. I played a Rogue One Squadron game with him. Well, Fate Accelerated, not even Fate. I know he's doing a Western one. I think I saw something about a Sliders game.
That sounds cool. Yeah, it's tough. Like we always played D&D. We played White Wolf before that. I really liked White Wolf, but that feels like a long time ago, so it's hard for me to imagine playing it now. Although I still think that's one of my favorite systems. But after playing D&D for so long, it's really hard to like switch lanes into something like Fate. It just feels like a whole different universe because it's so like, just what do you want to do? Describe it. Okay, how do I feel about that? You know what I mean?
I usually don't have too much trouble shifting gears. It's pretty easy for me to do that because my philosophy is I'm not really interested in spending a lot of time learning new stuff. I'd rather learn by doing it.
Sure, yeah.
Plus, my retention is horrible anyway. I would just read it all and be like, I have no idea what I read.
Right.
So like, I just show up and I'm like, you know what, give me a character and I'll tell you what I want to do. Tell me what I need to roll.
Well, a system like Fate's not going to bite you in the ass for that kind of thing. But if you were playing something like GURPS or Rifts or something, you can't just show up and be like, all right, well, let's just see what happens. I want to make a grappler. How's that work? And then it's like, I don't know. How'd you build your grappler? Because there's 50 different ways to do it and a billion mechanics for you to work out. And then you'd be like, then you get in a situation, you try to grapple somebody and go, this isn't working. This sucks. Like, I'm not able to do the one thing I wanted to do. Right.
Yeah, well, I find too that I also have less interest in playing those types of games as I get older as well.
Yeah, well, you only have so much headspace for rules.
Yeah. The hard drive and RAM, they're all running low at this point. I just caught a weird comment in the chat. Who moved my cheese to RPG?
I was gonna watch the chat, but then everything's delayed and it's like weirding me out.
Yeah. We'll say something, they'll get it, a few seconds later. Plus, the chat can be weird anyway because sometimes they're talking at me, and other times they're talking to themselves. So I see Dave's in the chat. Gamers on Games, which is cool. So.
I played, the guy's talking about GURPS. I played a GURPS back in the day. My friend had a great setting. It was pre-World War I, right? It took place right before Franz Ferdinand gets assassinated. And we were all working for a like X-Files sort of like group, looking for supernatural, trying to, secretly undercover supernatural events. And I made this great character. He was a lascivious bullfighter, from Spain. He would hit on anything, and he fought with a sword, and in a world of guns, he fought with a sword kind of thing. And it was great. I made this great character. It was a lot of fun. I developed all this background for him, and he was developing over the campaign. And then we were running through a building, and some random guard took a shot down a hallway. As I was running across the hallway, plop, hit me in the head, crit me, killed me, and my character was dead. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. You know what I mean? Like, if I saw this in a movie, I would be like, screw this movie.
Yeah. There's nothing fun about that. I remember something similar playing like the original Lord of the Rings game. It was like on one of the rolls, if someone was an archer, they just put an arrow through your ear, and they add like funny quotes like "arrow through ear instantly cleans all earwax." Oh, by the way, you're dead. But that's not really all that fun to me either.
We were playing the old Warhammer role-playing game, not the most recent one, not the Fantasy Flight one. The previous one with the headlight was super complicated, and I had a character who was fighting with a shotgun, and I shot an enemy and rolled a crit that I think, according to their goofy chart, was that I killed them, obviously, and then their bones exploded and shot out everywhere. Like you killed them, you blew them up so bad that their bones shot out and created an area effect that then killed my ally. Like, by bone shrapnel, killed my friend, and I was like, oh crap.
I hate when that happens. So for anyone just joining us, down in the description, you can find Cardboard Fortress's information. Also, there's a Kickstarter going on, Ursa Minor,
Ursa Minor, yep.
which
They
you
actually
guys
just funded yesterday.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. They were getting close. So I knew they were gonna tip. It was just a matter of time. So you guys can check that out. I'm fairly certain if Anthony's involved on the project, it's probably a really fun game. You guys also been doing the co-op, and are you guys still doing the Unpub stuff, or is that done?
That's always going. Unpub's just meetups. Unpub's essentially just like a day at a game store where local game designers can show up and show off their prototypes and get them play tested by the public. So it's always going. It's not like a set thing.
Okay. Well, for anyone who doesn't know what Unpub is, you want to go into that a little bit, especially if someone is interested in actually becoming a tabletop game designer.
Sure. I mean, I don't run Unpub. Nobody. Well, I shouldn't say nobody runs it. There's a couple guys that run it, but I'm not like in charge of Unpub or anything like that. Not if anybody thought that. But Unpub's essentially, if you're a game designer and you have prototypes, one of the biggest problems you have is that it's hard to find playtesters. I mean, some people have dedicated friends that are like, I'll playtest whatever you make. But a lot of times that's not the case. And also having your game playtested by your friends all the time is increasingly less helpful, right? Like the more they play it, the less useful they are as a playtester almost. Well, they start off bad because they're your friends and they don't want to tell you what's wrong with stuff. And they get worse because the more they play it, the more skewed their opinion is of it. And you want fresh opinions, right? So anyway. And Unpubs are basically like a site, and the site hosts ratings. So if we say, let's have an Unpub event at Redcap's Corner, for instance, here in Philadelphia, Redcap, we'd talk to Redcaps and they would agree to allow us to have some tables. And then we would put a call out and say, like, any local designers want to show up, you can have some table space and run your prototype game, and people can show up and they'll advertise for it a little bit. People show up and play test your games. You get some feedback. People have a form they can fill out online to give you like anonymous feedback or give you a rating. So like I can go back and look at all of the Unpub testing feedback forms that we got for Resistor back in the day and go, all right, on average, this game has on a 1 to 5 scale has scored, 4.5 or something like that. That's really good. This game's doing, people are digging it. Must be in a good place. That's kind of it.
Yeah.
Well, if you design games, if you're trying to design games, you definitely want to figure out what's happening with local Unpubs. Try to find it where they're going off, and if they're not going off, try to organize one for yourself. Because you don't need special privilege to make one. You just need to say, hey, I'd like to run an Unpub at my local store.
So, like, even like at our gaming table, there's kind of like a success story from that, right? Like, Todd was basically doing exactly what you said. He would just run his games with anybody he could find, and he'd been working on one game for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he met you guys from the game and started doing the Unpubs and got exposed to more people, made contacts, and from that came Barricades, his first published game.
Yep.
So which is pretty cool, and it's basically just came down to he just needed to get out of his own bubble,
yeah,
and get more exposure.
Yeah, for sure. And you gotta like a big part in the board game world is you have to be interacting with the other board game designers, because that's how you're going to start interacting with publishers as well, because there's not a lot of barriers in between those two groups. And we know lots of local game designers that also publish their own games, so they are publishers and so forth. But you also want to get a sense for like what the currents are right now. Like, oh, this year people are looking for light party games, or people are into this kind of game. Like right now, there's kind of I don't know, this is probably passed by now, but there was a trend for roll and writes. Everybody was all about these roll and write games, which is like Yahtzee essentially. Where you do something and then write it down, and somebody else does something and write it down. And it's creatively good for you as well, because if you go to conventions with other people and bounce your ideas off of other people that are trying to do the same things you are, you know, you can get a new perspective and you can get challenges and so forth.
So tabletop co-op, what exactly is that?
So tabletop co-op is kind of, I like to imagine it as sort of the next level after Unpub. If Unpub is people trying to get together to play test and design games, tabletop co-op is you have designed a game and are trying to sell it, right? But you're still you're trying to sell it yourself, and you're still a small, you know, you're still an individual or you're a little small company, and you're trying to sell your own game. How do you get to big conventions? Because a lot of the board game world, it's word of mouth, and to get word of mouth, you have to be in places where people are there to find out about board games, right? You can't just put it on a shelf at a store and expect people to pick it up. So, you know, getting on something like you know, Geek and Sundry is like huge, because then a lot of eyes see your game and get to hear about it. So if you're a small publisher and you have a game that you're trying to sell and you need to be at these big conventions to get word of mouth, like, how do you do it? You can't afford these booths. They're really expensive. Like, we're trying to look at a booth right now for PAX Unplugged here in Philadelphia, and it's looking like, you know, $3-4 grand, and that's not even that expensive comparatively. You know, you go to a convention, you're not gonna make $3 grand as an individual, you know, selling one game. So you're not going to recoup those costs if you try to do it on your own. So the tabletop co-op's idea is, we're all small publishers. Let's buy a booth together, split it up, and then help each other out selling their games and so forth, and just kind of work together to try to help small publishers, you know, small game designers get their games out.
So is that officially an organization? Is it an idea? And, you know, what is your part with that?
Well, me and Nicole and our friend Peter Newland and a couple other people started it a couple years ago. It's an organization. I mean, it's, you know, it doesn't have like any kind of weird like status, you know, but we have a group that we all talk together on, and we combine our money, and we have a logo, and you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, you know, it's not like you're giving up. It's not like if you made a game and it was a Nerdarchy, you know, it's the Nerdarchy game by Nerdarchy Co. It's not like if you became part of Tabletop Co-op then gets a cut of your game or anything like that. It's more like, okay, everybody who's on our Slack is what we use now, but anybody who's on our Slack, who's going to this convention? Do we want to combine our forces and try to get a booth space there? You know, that's how it works. Or I could say to Peter, for instance, or say to anyone of the designers, you know, if they're doing a PAX South thing, you know, if they're going to PAX South and they got a little booth there, but I'm not going to PAX South, I could be like, hey, I'll give you guys some money if you don't mind selling my game there at your booth. You know, possibly. That's unlikely, but you know, that's not usually what happens, because you want to be there to demo your own game. But
right, if someone's messing up the rules, it might as well be the guy that made them. Or gal, as the case may be.
Sure.
Well, no, that's definitely a cool idea. So basically, you guys just Voltron that shit so that everybody can get out there and get more exposure.
It's Voltron, yeah. Because otherwise, only the big boys get to play in those, you know, play in those waters. And I don't like the idea that access to a market, you know, and access to a community is determined by your wealth level. As much as I can, I want to avoid that kind of thing. I want quality should be the barrier of entry.
Should be, but unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, are you guys going? You guys have any cons on your upcoming roster? I know you guys have been crazy with cons in the past.
We've been taking this year a little light. What do we have? You're asking the wrong person. Nicole is the handler of schedules. We were going to go to UK Games Expo, but I think the flights are too expensive now. I don't want to get beat up. And then there's probably Gen Con. We go to all the PAXs. I don't think we're going to go to Origins this year. I always try to decide if I want to go to Origins or to Gen Con, one or the other, but I can't do both. It's too long of a trip. From Philadelphia to Indianapolis is really a grueling ride. So I could think of. Oh, anybody who's a game designer wants to go to Metatopia. That's the convention to be at.
Which one is that? Is that the one that's in Jersey?
Yep. It's in North Jersey. It's the same people that run. I always mess one of these up. Dreamation, and it's not Dragon Con. What's the other one called? I don't know. It doesn't matter. They run 3 conventions all out of the same hotel at different times of the year.
Is it DerpyCon?
Huh?
Is it DerpyCon?
No, it's not DerpyCon.
That is one of them that's like in that area.
Is it?
It is.
That's funny.
I've seen it in my feed. Someone had just asked. Paul Turner just asked about Dragon Con. I have not been to that many cons. So this year I'm going to go crazy by going to Origins, Gen Con, and PAX Unplugged. We actually have a table at PAX Unplugged.
Gee, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Well, sort of. So we're going to be the booth girls for Open Legend RPG.
Oh, yeah. No, I did hear about that. That's awesome.
So, and that is the first I heard about. You can't actually share at PAX Unplugged. They don't allow it, is what I was told.
Share a booth kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
But we don't actually sell anything, and we're going to help Brian Feaster out with manning the tables at Open Legends. So I don't know if we're selling books for him or running games or what we're doing exactly, but it'll be cool. We'll be at the con.
That's really cool. I need to play Open Legends at some point. If you do like a online game, I can jump in on it.
Yeah, we just started one a couple weeks ago. It's so here's the thing about Open Legend. It's fun and it's great unless your players are D-bags. Then it's going to be a nightmare.
Well, that's kind of true for everything, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's very open-ended. So there's definitely certain people that I've played with in the past. I'd be like, no, I'm not playing this with you. Because it's almost like you have to build your character and kind of set the rules for yourself and then stick to them.
Okay.
So it's in some ways it's like Mutants and Masterminds.
Right.
But it's got the framework is even more open than that.
Right. It's purposely easy to break so that you can do everything, but if somebody's out of line with the kind of tone that everybody else is playing, the level everybody else is playing at, then it really sticks out, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense.
So
that's true. Like even in like old D&D and stuff, it's like if I showed up with an optimized character and everybody else was like, we're just goofing around, it would be, it would become the optimized character show.
Yeah, but I just feel like most systems, there's a structure and a framework to the rules that you can't push past. Just because the rules stop you, where this is like literally you have a list of powers and they're open-ended, where I actually implemented the descriptors from Mutants and Masterminds in my game to kind of bring it back a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like even Mutants and Masterminds, the previous edition of it, you guys played that before, so you know what I'm talking about, where you could say, all right, I have a fire beam, and then I also can fly, and then I, have some telekinesis powers, or you can just put a crap ton of points into telekinesis, and it would be cheaper than buying those 3 individual powers, but you could do all of those things with telekinesis, right? I have a beam, and I can fly, and I can have telekinesis, and it'd be like a fourth of the points of buying them individually. So what I'm saying is, sorry, when I'm getting into the nitty gritty of it, but what I'm saying is, like, if you weren't in agreement with the other players about the power level, you could be wildly out of line because the point system was there to allow you to do anything, not there to be balanced.
Yeah. Yes. So have you guys messed with 3rd edition at all?
3rd edition Mutants and Masterminds?
Yeah.
No. When did it come out?
Oh, geez, it's been out for years now. It's been like 3-4 years, I want to say. But because basically they took like all the like D&D isms and hang-ups and kind of crushed them into a ball and chucked them.
That's good. That's good.
It's really good. Like they got rid of the stats and they just kept the modifiers, which made more sense anyway because it makes it look more like when you're a kid and you got the cards with the superheroes on them, and they had their power ratings and stuff. It really made it feel more like that. They changed up some of the stats, like got rid of Constitution, made it stamina, intellect instead of intelligence. They just made it sound more like a superhero, the superhero genre.
I always love Mutants and Masterminds. I to this day, I think it's a better hit point system to do like you take a wound and that gives you a minus to what you do later instead of actually tracking hit points, because hit points never come together to be what they are in the game. You know what I mean? Oh, no. Hit points are dodging, but no, they're not, because this time I got hit and it was poisoned, so I actually did get hit. You know, Orc hits you with a poison great axe. What does that mean? Did he hit me with a great axe? Shouldn't I be dead? Like, I got hit with a great axe. You're like, no, you dodged it. Yeah, but I got the poison from it. So how did that work? You know what I mean? So I never liked hit points. You know, you're completely okay until you're unconscious. Like, no kind of scale of wounding going on there. No matter how many hits you get, you're just totally 100% until you fall down.
Yeah, one hit point is the same as a million.
Exactly. So hit points have a lot of problems. And I always really liked Mutants and Masterminds' wound system. And also the defenses, where it was like you had damage reduction versus dodging. You know, you could, not versus, but you could have different amounts of either one, and that really defined what kind of character you were.
Yeah, I think they streamlined that stuff a little bit as well. It's been a while, and the random, they actually have a random character generator, which is like, it is the best one it's one of the best ones I've ever seen. But it's not, it's more like you can randomly build a character, and they pretty much always make sense because they define the powers and stuff. Like, they're themed. So when you do start rolling and start putting things together, it actually does work.
Okay, it's not random, it's like procedural.
Yeah, it's not 100% random. Not like, you know, Phase Rip Marvel, where you would roll, you know, what your origin was, then you would roll.
Is that the rainbow chart?
It was that. You know, actually, I was talking in the chat. I think I'm going to make one of the guys. Well, I can't make anybody do anything. I'm trying to convince one of the guys to run it for us.
Oh man, we played that. I don't know if you've been to Red Caps. The guy that runs Red Caps is my old DM from back when we were kids. He ran that back in the day because he was really into it. And this was definitely at the end of when I was like trying to learn a system. And I tried to figure it out, but there was a point at which I just said, you know what, Adam, just tell me what I need to do. Like, tell me what die to roll. I'm not going to figure this system out. This rainbow chart is absurd to me.
It was 2 die 10.
It is so complicated.
It was percentile, the 100, 100.
It wasn't. Don't say it was just percentage. It definitely wasn't just percentage.
Well, it was. You rolled, and then you had to just do the cross.
But anyway, so that chart was adjusted like that was like a 4-dimensional chart. So he had us roll up random characters. I love my character from it. I was like a robot made out of adamantine who had martial arts and blinding. So his whole thing was, his martial arts style was that he could, you know, eventually he could just poke you in the eyes like Three Stooges style and blind you. But otherwise he was like, and he was made by Amenzola. We were playing in the Marvel Universe. Like, but my friend rolled randomly, because we did this rolling randomly, and I actually came out pretty well on it. But our friend rolled randomly, and he had some powers. I don't even remember what they were. They were like some mild telekinesis powers or something like that. And then he just rolled randomly that he had a weather control belt. And we were like, what? Why? How do you have a weather control belt? What does that even mean?
Yeah, I'm actually looking now. You can literally download all those books for free.
All the Marvel books?
Yeah, because I believe it's been out of print for so long.
That is not a system you need to revisit.
Oh man, that was great. It was a ton of fun.
It doesn't do anything that Mutants and Mastermind doesn't do better.
I don't know. I don't know. There's something definitely about it that
You just like that rainbow chart, Dave.
It is the rainbow chart. That's the rainbow chart, man. Oh wait a minute, here it is. The universal table. That's what I was looking for.
Universal table.
Everybody needs to witness and bear witness to the glory of the universal table. This one's for you, Anthony. Come on, man. It was so easy. Your roll, your stat, and you just find out where the cross section was.
I mean, nothing says gaming like Excel spreadsheets.
Possibly before there was Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah, so this is probably made by hand.
They literally
I mean, it's so egregious. Look at this thing. It's a flow chart and a spreadsheet, right? It goes 0 to 100. There's a line of letters across the top that looks like periodic table. Like, there's nothing about this that looks or feels like Marvel Adventure.
Oh, come on, man. Monstrous, amazing, incredible, remarkable, excellent, good, typical, poor, feeble.
Even look at the way they lay out the text. 1,000, class 1,000. What? What? People gave 4th edition a hard time for being too gamey, and this exists?
It does exist.
DD good 10? What does that mean? It tells me nothing.
Oh, man, I'm going to have to ambush you with a game of that. So,
I
guys.
but I would still be like, here's my character. Tell me what I roll.
It's all right. We'll have Nicole explain it to you.
Yeah, she's the researcher. I have no interest in that. I'm a visual learner.
Hey guys, let's start the roll call since we're getting close to the end here. Where's everybody hailing from today? And we also, I got a question from one of the patrons. We always try and take their questions first.
I'm surprised I haven't got a bunch of hate over the Goblos.
It's coming. It's coming. How hard were you and Nicole tripping when you came up with the idea for the characters in Dave's game? I used to absolutely hate them. Now I'm trying to find a way to incorporate similar NPCs into my games without offering the hardcore religious players, or without offending the hardcore religious players. Any advice?
Here's the thing about it. Can I give a little bit of a disclaimer here about the Goblos? So when Dave asked us to join the game, I said, okay, what kind of world is this? Like, I wanted to make a very, like, in-world characters. And Dave or Ted, I don't know who told us, they were like, you know, it's like a fantasy setting with elves and dwarves and shit. Like, that's it?
That sounds like something I would say.
Your description was literally like, you're in a small town, there's elves that live nearby and dwarves that live nearby. Go. And I'm like, you couldn't have given me a more generic setup here. Tone? I wish you guys were about the session zeros when we made those characters. We would have had a whole different situation. So I was like, all right, well, I mean, this is for web viewing, so we might as well make like goofy, fun characters. And then, you know, I always like playing goblins, so I said goblins, and then Nicole's into juggalos, and we were like, oh my god, I never put together how great those two would match. You know what I mean? Like, if you had to come up with a way to make goblins not be horrible evil all the time, what kind of society would still feel like goblins, but could function with like a twisted, you know, but good moral kind of outlook? So we made them when you showed up, and then, you know, and then Ted's got his like serious like librarian cleric character, and everybody's all serious. I'm like, oh, now we're way off tone.
Well, you guys all, well, we did kind of do a session zero, but I will admit, like, that was the first session zero I ever did. So, you know, it's a work in progress.
Because I was like, are you sure you want to let us make these characters? And you're like, go ahead. All right.
It's been fine. Come on. The things that have happened because of those characters in the game has been a ton of fun. We had Ryan ridden around as a battle sheep. You know, you guys, well, I was going to say you burned down the bar, but that actually wasn't you guys. But it was kind of cool when you guys used Molotov cocktails on the thugs.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, there's been a lot of good things, good times. Guys, tormented little fairy woodland creatures, and I was going to have an evil druid show up and attack you guys, but instead a regular druid would have done just fine.
See, I always say wisdom is the enemy of adventurers. So you want to have characters that are willing to do dumb things.
Absolutely. Hey, besides, listen, so the party is your straight man.
There you go. I'm just trying not to steal the spotlight too much. What was the question? I lost track of the question.
I actually have it up here in the chat. So he actually wanted to know about how to incorporate similar NPCs to that without offending the religious types in his game. I don't think Anthony and Nicole really worry about offending those types.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're kind of defined by their offensiveness. So that's a little tough. But I don't know what... You mean defend, like, the cleric's religion? Is that what he's saying? Or defending, like, Christian?
Players. I think, yeah, you probably, yeah.
Oh, like they don't want to deal with the drug use and stuff. I think the biggest thing there, because the drug use thing is tied to the Juggalo part of it, not the goofy goblin character. I think it's important, and you know, this is going to be a diatribe, but or a divergent diatribe. But I always hate when everybody plays hard asses all the time. If you show up to the game and you're playing, this is kind of like what you guys talking about, the loner. You know what I mean? That's the worst type of player, is like this loner kind of player. Like, I want to play this loner. I don't want to be around the other characters. I'm dark, you know. Don't play an edgelord, guys. Like, nobody wants Conan. Conan doesn't make a great player in a group game. Like, he makes a great character in a book where he can be by himself. So I hate it when people show up and they want to be a hard ass through the whole game and be like, I'm a badass and, you know, I don't scream when I get stabbed. Give me a break. Like, you got stabbed. Your guy has a cry out. Like, get over it. So I think it's always good for someone to play a character who's like sniveling or cowardly. Not all the time. Like, you can be a cowardly hero, right? Like, you can do the heroic thing, but you just don't have to be like Billy Badass about everything. So I think it's important to play characters like that, because it makes it an interesting party. You know, like, if people have varying kind of personalities. So if you want to run Gobolo kind of characters, it's not important is the drug use or the offensiveness. What's important is that they're willing to do goofy stuff and make themselves the fool, right? They're not afraid to look foolish. Like, your NPCs shouldn't always be trying to look like badasses also. Like, if you're running a game, like, you can't, you know, I see it so many times when you approach some guy and he's like the shop owner, and the PCs start threatening him, and the DM will be like, well, he's not going to put up with that. Be like, he's not you. You know, this isn't a personal assault to you as the GM. This is some normal person. A person walks into their establishment with axes. They start to get threatening. He should run out in the street and call the guards. Like, it should, you know, he's got nothing to prove.
In one of the recent games that I ran, I had bandits basically attack the players and then recognize them and then throw down their weapons and run away.
Hell yeah.
Like, you're the ones killing all the monsters around town. I'm out of here. F this.
One of my favorite characters I played in 4th edition was a warlock. I think he was a tiefling. I think he was a tiefling warlock. But instead of trying to make him like all dark and swarthy and like mysterious, I was like, no, he's roly-poly and fat. And his whole thing is that he is a toady, right? Like, his defining personality trait was that he was a toady. So whoever was the strongest person in the party, or whoever he thought was the strongest person in the party, he would just snivel up to them and be like, whatever you say, like, I'll do whatever you want. But if an NPC villain showed up and was like, I've kicked all your asses, and now I'm gonna take over, he would snivel up to them and be like, yes, I'm switching sides. Now I work for you. Was he a bad guy? No, because when he got a chance, he would stab that villain in the back, and he wouldn't stab the party in the back. But the point was that, you know, he was a sniveling toady, and that character was so fun to play. Like, it was so great to play against a character like that. But part of that was whenever he got wounded, regardless of how much damage he had, he would whine and cry about it. Like, I need healing. You're like, please, somebody help. I'm hurting. I'm bleeding over here. Help me, please. You know what I mean? You'd never see that. People are like, I'm a barbarian. I just suck it up. Sniveling toady character, yeah.
In some ways, I'm envisioning the Jet Li character from what was that movie? Damn it! With all the action heroes within the last couple of years.
Expendables?
Yeah. When he's like whining for more money, he's like, everyone's so much bigger than me.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it's so against type, right?
Yeah. He's like,
and certainly they didn't need another Dolph Lundgren in Expendables. You know what I mean? They didn't need another badass character in that group.
he went on this whole thing. He's like, when I get shot, the holes are so much bigger because I'm smaller than everyone else.
Right.
It was just that sticks out. So diving in the chat, we got intern Kyle in New Jersey. We got Columbus, South Carolina from Scott. We got Paul from Pittsburgh. We got Frigginator, and that's who asked the Patreon question. Washington State. Oh no, we jumped, and I'm lost. Every once in a while, I like tap it, and like it dives. There's a lot of people thanking you for being on.
Super.
You're not nearly as hated as you thought. You know what you see over and over again? Like, I so hated the goblins, and then they're like, now they're my favorites. We get that all. I see that comment pretty often. Here we go.
I saw a comment the other day that was talking about Nicole's 100+ decibel laugh. I thought that was pretty funny. I was trying to watch that last video, and she was like, she can be pretty bad about like interrupting and laughing and stuff. At one point, she busted out laughing. I was like, "Holy shit, tone it down."
Hardly notice. Hardly noticeable. Lincoln in Sweden. We got Neo Jacobite in Minneapolis, Riggio in Utah, Patrick in Sweden. So 2 from Sweden. We got Toledo, Ohio in the house. We have Washington State, Birmingham, Birmingham, Alabama, Evansville, Indianapolis, Fort Worth. Love the Gobelos. We got Wales, UK. Awesome. We got some more PA in the house. I don't know what is UAE. I don't know where that is. They're watching from that or there, wherever that is.
UAE.
Yeah, UAE, Ventura, California. I grew to love the Gobelos.
United Arab Emirates.
Oh yeah, that could be it. South California. Stockholm Syndrome. That's Ryan. Nerdarchy Ryan, formerly known as Nerdarchy Ryan. Hamilton, New Jersey.
Kurt Turflon asked if I'm drawn to a specific type of character. I like fighting characters. I don't tend to focus on skills. I mean, I'll have characters that have skills, but I never make a skill monkey. I like combat characters. I really like action movies and like kung fu stuff. So I always try to make a lot of what defines my character is how I think they fight and what they look like. So that's I'd say. I tend to not play spellcasting characters also because I hate consumables. And spellcasting characters with Vancian casting, spellcasting characters are just basically a bag of consumables. So I don't like dealing with like, when do I want to use this ability? I like to know what my character does and have him do that all the time. Not do it all the time, but I like him to be able to do it when I need him to do it. So I tend to play fighters or I really always want to play like monk-like characters. I really like monks, but they're so spotty through all the editions, whether they're good or not. The 4th edition monk is my absolute favorite class of all time. Like the 4th edition monk is so much fun.
Isn't 4th edition nothing but a bag of consumables?
No, I mean it does. It unlike like in 3.5 or in 5th, if you're a wizard, you're all consumables, right? Except they stole the at wills from 4th edition and put in 5th edition. So, but you're still all consumables. When do I want to use my 2nd level spell? I hate the 8-minute working day and the Nova kind of effect, which is still you can still Nova in 4th edition, so it doesn't fix that. But everybody has a consumable your daily. But you don't know how many games I've played where I've never even touched my daily because I'm always going, this isn't the big fight. The next fight's the big fight. You know what I mean? Then I'll use my daily. You know, just like I would do if I was playing a wizard in 5th edition. You would never even see any spells out of me because I'd be like, well, the fighter's got this. I'm going to save my fireballs till when this is the big fight. And then the session would be over and be like, oh, there wasn't any big fight.
I feel like you just justified Torg's existence.
I don't think he's wrong. I just think he's not, he's not showing off. You're not putting this, you don't really put the spurs to us very hard at all. These fights aren't as hard as they could be. You should really put not going to care. When I DM and I'm running this Everon game, if I don't not put a character down every fight, like that fight didn't need to be fought. I don't drop if a character. I'm not saying they died or anything. I'm just saying if a character didn't get close to 0 hit points and almost fall down, then that was probably a mook fight that didn't need to be put on a table. That's how I look at it.
Duly noted. More violence and bloodshed.
I can't. Nicole will be the one that'll die, and that'll be my fault.
Yeah. Well, she did almost die one time, but I think that was more because of a party member. And Ryan almost got stabbed with a pencil that game.
Yeah, she doesn't handle character death well.
When Torg put up a cloud of daggers, and I think he thunder waved her into it. She didn't have much of a sense of humor for that at all.
Everybody's talking about different monks in 5th edition.
Yeah.
I kind of wish. I don't want to play another 5th edition game, but if I did, I might try a monk. I'm torn between monk or barbarian. I like the healing monk that they put out in
the UA.
In the UA. I think it was Dawnforge Cast was talking about how broken it was. And I'm like, and you guys thought it was I think you guys thought it was underpowered. And I'm like, now I just want to see how it plays out. But I have this visual of a character I've always wanted to play based on these NPCs from Torchlight 2, where they wear like a porcelain mask and they're all bound up so you don't see their skin. In that game, they're actually like Warforged, but it doesn't matter for this. And so the character would wear like whites and golds and look very like religious, but then they're carrying like a big tube that has a big scroll in it as this like relic. So I always wanted to make a monk that was always had to carry this relic with them, you know, this big like Tibetan scroll kind of thing. I thought that'd be really cool. And if that was like a healing monk, that'd be pretty neat. If you had like the secrets to, you know, 5-point chi contact healing.
So Ryan says if you know, if our character does die, then Pickle Dick will have some hero angst.
Yeah, then he can go edgelord on us.
Yeah. So goth.
We're all black, so then it'll be goblin, juggalo, goth, right?
Yeah. You know, there will be no more happy clown makeup for him. It'll only be sad clown makeup.
Yeah. The Pagliacci will be the crying clown.
Yeah. Well, maybe in the next game, or we'll do a different system. By the time we finish this game, 6th edition might be out. Who knows?
Actually, I'm wondering if because, well, I mean, we'll find out once you play the next session, but I'm wondering what you're going to do with Alan.
So,
because if we lost Pete, obviously, a long time ago, and now if Alan might be dropping off.
Yeah. So, yeah, that still leaves us with, what, like 5 players?
Yeah, that's totally fine table. I think I like a 4-player table myself. Not to say that I don't want anybody to leave. I'm just saying I like smaller tables more than large tables. But it would be weird. I was talking to Nicole about it, and I was like, well, if they had somebody else come in, then whoever comes in is going to be coming in for the culmination of years of adventuring, right? Like, we're going to set that bomb off and be like, oh, there's some new dude here who gets credit for this.
Yeah. No, he comes in, right, and you guys just treat him like Jason Newsted from Metallica. Like, no matter what he does, he can do nothing right. He just
so we just switch over to Spinal Tap drummers from that point onward.
Yeah. So like that's why I'm really pushing to play this weekend, but I feel like half the party's not going to be here. But I think
I'm not around.
It's going to be probably I think it's going to be Bloodfang's last session. So I kind of wanted to be like, so do you want to retire kind of like a hero, or you want to go out in a blaze of glory? And then Ted's like, oh my God, no one else is showing up. And if it's me and Bloodfang playing.
Oh yeah, he'll get wrecked. Well, I don't know. He's a spellcaster, so he's intrinsically twice as powerful as the next character. But you should have him get taken over. Like all character, anybody who leaves the game early becomes a Vargarian.
That I might just do that.
Then he'll grow in a couple extra arms so you can wield all those extra magic swords.
Yeah. But you guys will finally get the biggest loot drop ever, because I think he does have the bulk of the magic items.
Oh sure. Well, we have no use for all those swords, but yeah.
Yeah, but you'll have them. Pickle Dick will turn it into like a surfboard or something. I don't know.
I was going to say the exact same thing. I'll strap it onto the flying broom, and then I can just surf it around into people.
Oh my God! You could do the flaming frost ram attack.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what he needs.
Well, you can tell the flying carpet. I keep saying the flying carpet. You can tell the flying broom to go to a location. So you just strap swords to it, and you'll be like, that guy's heart. It'll be like, tow missile right towards their chest.
Ryan does not like the idea of Bloodfang being taken over. I don't think he does do a lot. He does do a lot of damage. Bloodfang, the Vargarian Bloodfang shows up and just Ginsu's the party. He ends up the lead. He's the new leader of the Vargarians.
You could have him be he gets attached. He gets like centaured into his mount, the big dragon panther, right? So he's like from the waist up, it's him, robot version of him, and from the bottom half, it's his mount. You know, he'd be like a zoanthrope from 40K, like the half dragon, half ogre.
Oh, nice. It just gets better and better.
Yeah, man.
Well, you know, maybe I can have him go out in a blaze of glory and then return like that. So I don't know. Some players, you know, all players are different. I know some people when they're done, they want to see their character do something heroic, or just go out in a, you know, splash of blood and gore.
Yeah.
Why not? So we're at the hour mark. We're gonna wrap it up, guys. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us. We appreciate it, and I want to thank you, Anthony, for hanging out with us as well.
Absolutely, anytime.
And hey, I'm sure, guys, if you guys have any graphic design work you need done, Anthony is for hire. There's links in the description in order to get a hold of him, and he's a really good dude. So I'm sure if you have questions about making tabletop games, you can probably track him down and ask those questions as well. Both him and Nicole are super knowledgeable and great people.
Or at least willing to act like we are, at least.
They'll answer questions. No promises on the whether they're right or not, but they'll sure answer them.
We have Laser Riders should be in stores soonish.
Resistor
is in stores now. If you like games about nuclear destruction and hacking in the 80s, that's out in stores right now. We also did we made a game with IDW for a game based on the arcade game Centipede. So that should be coming out. We made the Centipede board game. Should be coming out next year. No, not next year. Later this year.
So that's not even going to be a Kickstarter. That's just going right.
Yeah, no, that's a bigger company. So I don't think they're bringing that to Kickstarter. It's just coming out to stores.
Nice.
They're doing a series of all games based off of Atari licenses. So there's going to be an Asteroids game and a Missile Command game. And we did the Centipede one, which I believe is going to be the first one. I believe the first one's going to be out. And then come to Unpubs and conventions and check us out. We'll have prototypes to play.
Awesome. Sounds good. Ryan, Nerdarchy Ryan, or formerly Nerdarchy Ryan, is pushing your goods over in the chat. Good with that, guys. Until next time, stay nerdy.